aside, you were just saying on average that you receive about 180 emails from concerned parents. What exactly is the reason for the delay in having their children placed?
The reasons vary. Most of these parents have applied on time in March of last year. Some of the reasons are, for example, schools will just simply tell them straight, I know, we are full. So schools are full, right? And it is, in fact, true that quite a few schools are full. We find that particularly in poor and working class communities. So schools are full. And the department then has taken long to find alternative schools for these learners. So that's the one. The other situation is they apply, no responses from the schools, no responses from the departments. Other situation that we find, and we've got examples, for example, Oudtshoorn. There's a school in Oudtshoorn High School, which is a former Model C school. There are 13 learners there who come from the feeder primary school, Reeder Primary School. They come from the feeder, from Reeder Primary School. They apply. They are told there's no place. But you know full well that there is place. I mean, many of these schools have got just over 20 learners per class. And the department knows full well that there's place, but the department will just ignore the parents. It comes to our desk. We raise it with the department. Our member in the legislature, one of our members in the legislature whose constituency it is, Lulama and Vimbi, for example, raises it. Then the department dilly-dallies. They give many of these schools far too many powers to reject learners. There is what we have picked up, there's an inconsistent application on the part of many schools of their own admission criteria, and a failure on the part of the provincial department to do proper oversight over many of these schools.
Okay.
So that's the one case, when there is actual place, but learners are just rejected.
On what grounds are they rejected?
They don't want. And then in the other situation is there's not enough, I don't think there's enough high schools in our poor and working class communities.
On what grounds are these pupils rejected?
Now that's the problem, Mbekile. They're not given reasons. If I were to show you what we've got and the emails that they get from the school, then I'd not give reasons. And then after begging and begging, after a few months, so you'll apply in March. In June, you'll just be told, sorry, application rejected, boom. Then you will go back, and in October, you will only then be told, no, there's no place. But yet you'll find that somebody who applied a little bit later will have found a place in the school. So these are the issues. Administrative glitches, lackluster approach towards admission.
In those cases, then, where there has been an unfair application, shall we say, of the various or individual schools' admissions policies, how are you moving that forward? How do we deal with that, especially if it may even move towards or in the direction of unfair treatment?
Yes, so basically, according to the legislation, then, the parents ought to appeal to the MEC. But what we have done, as the ANC in the Western Cape, we have embarked on a public campaign where our councillors, our members of the legislature, our branch leaders, our activists are on standby in each and every area in the province, each and every school. So if they find this situation, we say to them, say to parents, write to public reps. Those matters will then come to our attention at the legislature. And we personally engage and write to the relevant officials in the department, in the relevant district offices where those schools are, to say, look, this is unfair, this is what has happened, please address this, and continuously apply pressure until it's addressed and the learner is given a place in the school. That's what we've been doing over the years, and we'll continue doing so. It is not sustainable, but at least it's a temporary solution to the crisis at the moment. In the long run, what needs to happen, and we have been saying this, is that there needs to be a standardized admissions policy in the country. You cannot allow school governing bodies to be having so many radically different admissions policies and management. And I think the more we apply pressure like this and bring these individual cases, management of the Department of Education, particularly at the circuit and district levels, will hopefully be much more hands-on in terms of monitoring what is happening and what is not happening at schools in terms of admissions.
So on the issue of space, which you yourself conceded at the beginning, is a problem in the Western Cape overall because, like Gauteng, is a province that many of us move to because we're seeking various opportunities, mainly economic opportunities, people moving for work, right? By November, the Western Cape Education Department said it had received more than 117,000 applications for placement, and that was just for grade 1 and 8. How does the system better prepare in future for the volume of people who are moving with their children and want them placed? Is it as easy as simply building more schools?
Well, certainly, that's a very good question. Firstly, and you are correct, Gauteng and the Western Cape are two provinces that are affected by this. And it's not a negative thing because we are a unitary state as South Africa. You've got the right to live and work in Gauteng if you feel like doing so. And that's important. And the provincial governments receive these figures. They are able to project. For example, by us in the Legislature, the Western Cape Education Department, numerous times at the beginning of the year, well before the crisis starts, they're able to say this is going to be the population, we anticipate this, we anticipate that. So they need to, so firstly in terms of the building of schools, it cannot be that you only wake up just before the December holidays to go and build temporary schools or temporary classrooms. You need to project. So there needs to be a plan in place to project, to say, look, in 5 years from now, in 3 years from now, this is going to be the population. Let's build sufficient amount of schools. Let's employ the sufficient amount of teachers. Let's see how we utilize the resources that we have. So that's at the one level. The other level, as I've said now, it's to get the administration right. They need to make sure, for example, and it starts from when parents are applying. Now, in March of last year, parents applied. Before that, and I can see some of the improvement, it was purely online, no assistance, nothing. We then lobbied and said, no. As the opposition, many parents are having challenges when it comes to applying. There's technical glitches. They don't get assisted. Why doesn't the department have pop-up banners at shopping malls, for example? So they started with that. And it worked. You had a little bit more success, but still, we then found officials weren't equipped even with laptops, for example. Not all officials even had laptops with these applications. So to get those basic things right, I think it's not rocket science. You don't need grand policies and theories for this.
Okay.
Rolling out, for example, when it comes to March, when the application process happens, go to the taxi ranks, go to the townships. The amount of resources spent on paying for management staff in departmental offices is enormous. So let's use those staff. The staff must go out there, be stationed at places where our people are going to be, make sure that they can apply properly for their children, take them through, and have follow-up. It speaks to the management. I think that's important.
Okay. Khalid Said, ANC MPL in the Western Cape Legislature, thank you for your time tonight.